All right, guys, so this is really our first taste of true trigonometry. So don't freak out on me. We're going to go really, really, really slow and take it one step at a time. So the most important word in all of trigonometry is right here. Okay, it's actually an acronym, but we would call this SOH-CAH-TOA. SOH-CAH-TOA. And the quicker you learn this, the better off you're going to be. So honestly, if you just pause this and say it 20 times, just SOH-CAH-TOA, 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 it'll stick in your head and you won't have to worry about memorizing it. Okay, but you would do yourself a big favor if you did memorize it. All right, now, SOH-CAH-TOA is an acronym. So when we get to trig, there are three main functions that we use in trig. Okay, we use the sine function, S-I-N-E, the cosine function, and the tangent function. Okay, and each of these have an abbreviation. Sine is written as sin, cosine is written as cos, and tangent is written as tan. But we still do say sine, cosine, and tangent, even if the abbreviation is written. Okay, so notice if you look at SOH-CAH-TOA, S, C, and T. Okay, we'll notice up here, this is S, C, and T. Okay, so the S, C, and T stand for sine, cosine, and the T stands for tangent. Okay, now if you remembered yesterday when we were labeling the sides of the triangles, we labeled the hypotenuse, we labeled the opposite side, and we labeled the adjacent side. Okay, so we had either H, an O, or an A. Okay, now if you go back and look in here, we're left with an O and an H. We're left with an A and an H, and an O and an A. So each one of these stands for one of the three sides. Okay, so here would say sine of some angle, and I'm just going to put this here because this is like an X for an angle. We don't know. Okay, so the sine is going to equal, the O stands for opposite, over the H stands for hypotenuse. Okay, so always when I ask you to find the sine of something, it's always going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse. And we know that because of the S, the O, and the H. Okay, so cosine. Okay, it's always going to be the adjacent over the H stands for hypotenuse. Okay, let me go ahead and highlight these, adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, and now the tangent of theta is going to be O stands for opposite over, and then the A stands for adjacent. Okay, so if I have this triangle right here, okay, and this is something that we need to learn, but so opposite of angle A, so opposite of angle A would be side A, but it's lowercase. Opposite of angle B would be side B, but it's lowercase. And then opposite of angle C is side C, and it's lowercase. Okay, so notice here, because I have this arc right here, this is my reference angle. Okay, and because this is my reference angle, this side over here is opposite of my reference angle, so this is going to be my opposite. Of course, opposite of 90 degrees, that's always my hypotenuse, which means C is my adjacent. Okay, so if I wanted to write this per this triangle, I could say my sine of angle A is going to equal, remember sine is just opposite over hypotenuse. We'll notice here my opposite of angle A is side little a, and my hypotenuse is side little b. So I could say that the sine of A is A over B. And we're going to do a truer example here in a minute. It'll make more sense. Okay, my cosine of A now equals, well, cosine is always adjacent over hypotenuse. And notice my adjacent side to A is side C, and my hypotenuse is still my B. So I could say the cosine of angle A is C over B. Okay, last but not least, my tangent of angle A. Now tangent is always opposite over adjacent, and opposite of angle A is my little a, and adjacent to my angle A is my little c, so I'd say tangent of angle A is A over C. All right, guys, so this isn't on your foldable, but I want you to find a place and write it, okay? So I'm just going to label it ABC. Here's the 3 side links, okay? So I'm going to give you a minute to do that, and then we'll do some examples. All right, so what I want to do is find the sine of angle A, the cosine of angle A, and the tangent of angle A. Okay, and I'm going to write down here, SOH-CAH-TOA. Okay, so my sine is always my opposite over my hypotenuse. And guys, out of every worksheet I do with trig, even nowadays, I write SOH-CAH-TOA at the top. So I encourage you to do that. My cosine is always adjacent over hypotenuse. And my tangent is always opposite over adjacent. Okay, now this is for angle A, so this is my reference angle. Okay, so my 10 over here is my hypotenuse. Opposite of angle A is my 8, so this is my opposite. And my leftover, this has to be my adjacent. Okay, so sine of A is opposite over hypotenuse. Well, opposite of angle A is 8. My hypotenuse is 10, so 8 over 10, and I'm going to go ahead and reduce that to 4/5. Now, if you're not good at reducing fractions, hit me up in class and I'll show you how to do that on your calculator. It's pretty simple. Okay, my cosine of A is always adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so my adjacent here is 6, and my hypotenuse is still 10. So if I simplify 6 over 10, that gives me 3/5, and my cosine of angle A is 3/5. Okay, tangent of angle A is opposite over adjacent, always opposite over adjacent. So opposite of angle A is 8. My adjacent of angle A is 6, and if I reduce that, tangent of A is 4/3. All right, now let's change my reference angle. Now let's do the sine of angle B, cosine of angle B, and tangent of angle B. Okay, so I'm going to erase all this. So my reference angle isn't A anymore. Okay, now this is still my hypotenuse. My reference angle here is B. Okay, so opposite of angle B, this is now my opposite side, which means that my A has to be my adjacent. Okay, so now it's just plugging stuff in. So sine of B is opposite over hypotenuse, and my opposite side is 6. My hypotenuse is 10, which reduces to 3/5. Okay, my cosine of B, cosine is adjacent, which is 8, over my hypotenuse, which is 10, and that reduces to 4/5. And my tangent of angle B is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite of angle B is 6, adjacent to angle B is 8, which reduces to 3/4. Okay, and this is exactly how your homework's going to be. All right, so the last thing I want to do is show you how to find like the sine of a 47-degree angle, the cosine of a 71-degree angle, and the tangent of a 23-degree angle on your calculator. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your calculator is in degree mode. Okay, now after you're in degree mode, you literally just want to put sine of 47 in your calculator. Okay, and when you do that, you should get roughly 0.73. And this is rounding because there's a whole bunch of decimals. Okay, go ahead and put cosine 71 in your calculator. And yes, when you put it in your calculator, it does ask for parentheses, so you just do that. And you should get roughly 0.325-ish. And then tangent of 23, when you put that into your calculator, you get roughly 0.42. All right, so that's all we're going to go over on this foldable for now. Hold on to it because as the week goes, we'll be going over the rest of the stuff and we will eventually be filling out the whole thing.